Welcome to Permission to Evolve. I'm your host, Brandon Thielk. I'm a performance and life coach. I'm joined by my co-host and producer, Holly Deschenes. We're getting into the end of the year here and the holidays and all that. And well, I know you're in retail, so that doesn't really mean things slow down. They actually speed up. But, but yeah, it's a good time to wind down and reflect on the year. Today, we're going to be talking about the permission to slow down. This is a super important thing because, we get kind of caught in these routines and we're always kind of pushing forward. And a lot of that, there's a lot of things that get overlooked. We get caught in our patterns, which are all these kind of pre-programmed responses to everything. That's that autopilot I commonly talk about. Is we have these habits that are very practiced and it's very natural for us to just go in that direction, because it doesn't take a lot of energy. A lot of what we talk about here is to rewire the nervous system, and that requires us to slow down and question things. That's the main idea here, is when you have triggers and responses to things, that just keeps creating the same result over and over again. I think it's part of my life's work is to make the case for reflection. It's a common theme I always talk about. Obviously, we get caught up in the busyness, and many of us have like very full lives where it's just kind of jumping from one thing to another. It really does take this slower pace to ask these deeper questions, to take a deeper look and to figure out like if there's some improvements we can make. If we're just acting out of that reaction or that impulse, I get triggered by something and I feel motivated to move in a direction automatically. A lot of those patterns are built on wounds. They're built on me trying to protect myself. They're built on old motivations that probably don't suit me that well anymore. It's really about upgrading our software. And, so that takes conscious work. A common thing when, in the athletic arena is like when you're making mechanical adjustments to how you move your body, it just feels kind of awkward. You have to slow down. You have to be more conscious about your movements because you're trying to form these new movement patterns. And that's also costly from an energy perspective because we have these automatic reactions that don't require much energy, but so I actually need to start to hesitate and slow down but I want to have this idea of like something new I'm moving towards that has enough, like either I get why I should move forward, I see the benefit of it, or I see why the old way isn't working. What we're trying to do is we're trying to burn out these patterns, the ones that no longer suit us. That's kind of that idea of sabotage. There's so many things that intersect here where I just have this normal way of being. And if I don't question it, I'm just going to keep doing the same things over and over again. But like I said, that might be what's holding us back. That might be what's keeping us from our next level. And so it's a good time, when your schedule or calendar allows for it, or even like carving out some time to just start to spend some more time with yourself and start to question some of these things that are, that we just know create a lot of stress on a regular basis. So what we do here is we make adjustments to the stress response. So what used to be heavy for me is now, I'm pretty neutral to it because I'm not wasting all that extra emotional energy. And then I have this power of choice where I can make these micro adjustments. I can start to guide my path in a better direction. And it takes slowing down to do that. So, I was super excited to get into this. It's just another common idea I talk about here is like, slowing down, being still, spending time with yourself, asking deeper questions. And there's a reason I keep harping on that, is because that's how you actually make the fastest changes. We think that if I just keep moving forward, I can make these adjustments on the fly, but that's like extremely difficult. That requires a lot of willpower. And depending on what we've got going on in our life, we might not have the resources to have control of those things. And so we don't want to force change. We want to get to know ourselves at a deeper level so that we can accept the new change and align with it, which is a much smoother path.
I think it's an appropriate time of year, to your earlier point, for us to talk about slowing down. And I do think it is a natural time for people to reflect. It's December, makes perfect sense. I'm a December birthday, and so I also do a lot of reflection personally tied to that. I don't know if others use that as another time to reflect, but I also deeply resonate with like how difficult it is to get in that space and how uncomfortable it can be. So I do think for anybody who's listening, it'd be helpful for you to talk through when we are working on developing a practice, how do you get yourself there? Maybe there's tricks and tips you can share, but also like taking the self-judgment out of it, right? The slowing down, maybe that means like, I mean, you can counter me on this, but maybe to start, it's like 5 minutes. Maybe you don't have to make it like a big thing to get started if it's something that feels hard.
I'm a believer in daily adjustments. We shouldn't be looking for this one grand breakthrough. The daily adjustments add up to the breakthrough, the big noticeable thing. That is just, it starts with being a little bit more conscious. If I'm not getting the results I want, or if I'm having just repeated problems, it can be like challenging people that like, I just like, have all these expectations that this is going to go badly. So I'm already kind of preparing myself from that, but it's like also I have all these reactions attached to it. So I keep the same dynamic going. We talked a few weeks ago about recalibrating relationships and all that. That's just like, that's that space of like, okay, well, like what's actually not working here? And so that's going to be indicated by stress. It's going to be indicated by the things that don't feel good to you, that bring a lot of self-doubt. The beauty of this work is like when we make these adjustments, so many things benefit. It's kind of a one size fits all thing where, it improves relationships. You feel more calm and easy. You're able to be more present, which increases your performance and whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's about building a practice. We want something that's sustainable. When I kind of look at my path, it was this gradual building to me, like eventually spending like massive amounts of time alone and in stillness. It just started with, if I wasn't getting the results I wanted, I need new perspectives. And if I'm not able to see those, that's where I get like outside help, or I might read a book, listen to a podcast, whatever it is. I'm looking for different perspectives because I keep hitting the wall with the same idea. There's no shame in that. We learn from other people. If we don't have the answer, somebody else does. We just want to start to make some space and some time to slow down and take an inventory of, okay, well, what's not working? Like, and then we go to like, where did I learn that from? Or why do I keep doing that? Like you start just digging to create the awareness where it's like, these things are all hardwired on beliefs, and beliefs are things that we don't question anymore. But if I'm not questioning something that's like bringing me a lot of pain and suffering and problems, I'm kind of the problem, right? It's that ability to be wrong. It's that ability to be like, well, what worked for me 10 years ago might be actually what's like making me miserable today. We want these pockets of time to create some self-awareness. If I'm on the go all the time, usually whatever I'm doing, I'm not even fully present there. Usually whatever I'm doing, I'm thinking about the next thing I have to do, right? So my mind's always in this forward movement of, I need to check all the boxes. It's like, do all the boxes need to be checked? Did I just fill my life with busyness to avoid myself? These are all like good questions, because it's, especially early on in the process, if we got a lot of default wiring, meaning I've just been doing things the same way my whole life, or, I never questioned my parents, I just went along with things. It's kind of, there's going to be like all these overrides that we did that have like disconnected us, that don't feel very good. That might create this, I don't really want to get to know myself. I don't really want to be with myself because it's uncomfortable. And, that's another idea we talk about continuously is growth is really this capacity to feel uncomfortable, because in that discomfort, you're like faced with yourself. And it's telling you what you believe about situations. Our beliefs might be way off base. They generally are, if they're built on negative emotions. So that could be like trauma and pain. I might just be trying to protect myself from things all day, every day. A good sign of that is if I struggle with anxiety, right? If I have these subtle fear responses coming up on a daily basis, that means that there's things that I'm not looking at that are just trying to get my attention. It's approaching these things in a way that we can sustain them. And so that means I don't just like go out tomorrow and be like, I'm going to climb a mountain. It's, well, I'm going to build up to that eventually over time. It's
except for when you go to Colorado with Holly and then we just go out and climb mountains. It's fine.
Yeah, which was like very difficult, and I almost died. No, but it's
I had to.
yeah, it's just this, there's a reason for training, right? Training is like, I'm preparing myself, I'm building my capacity for more and more. Any practice, it's that way. We are approaching the new year and we have like the New Year's resolutions coming up where it's like, oh, I'm going to like lose some weight and I'm going to start eating healthier and like all that stuff. And, if you bite off too much, you can't chew, then eventually that stuff's going to fizzle out pretty quickly. So I want to just start to get clear on some sort of plan on this is the direction I want to head. And, what are some small adjustments I can make to start to align with that? If I try to make too big of a change too fast, my nervous system's going to battle me. It wants to keep everything the same. It's got all these practiced habits and those don't change overnight. If we're making a conscious change, that usually is a couple of weeks to like really work at something intentionally. So if we're trying to add 10 new things to our plate at once, that's just going to be overwhelm and shut down. And if anything in your life isn't perfect, which it never is, right? It's like you're getting stress from other areas. You only have so much capacity to devote to the change. That's generally why we fail. It's a very high percentage because we try to do too much too quickly and we have unreasonable expectations. So the slowing down piece is, it's like connecting to yourself. It's like, if my life's already very full, what are some small things I can do to integrate this new way of being? Like, okay, like this is the area of improvement I want. So I'm not going to make that overnight. How can I start to change my direction 1 degree at a time? Subtle shifts over a long period of time add up to the big result. And the more intensity we put into something, the faster we can create results. There is generally a pretty natural flow to these things where it doesn't have to be, I'm trying to make this drastic shift. And then if I'm not successful there, now I'm like beating up on myself and I'm filled with shame. And then now I just spiral and then I start doing worse stuff. It's everything's like the small doses. It's like, what's based on the context of my life, what are some things I can do, small steps I can take that would make me feel a little bit better about this? If we're questioning stuff, that requires us to slow down, that requires us to break those patterns. And that means like, instead of just jumping into the impulse, I'm going to slow it down and I'm going to question it. And I'm going to ask myself, like, what would be a better version of this? How could I do this differently? Once the awareness starts to get created, now it's like, okay, well, like, I understand that this is what's causing the problem and this is the direction I would like to head. So every time I start to move towards the thing I know is causing the problem, I need to stop myself. I need to slow down. I need to breathe through and kind of disarm the emotions associated with that because those emotions are driving the action. I really have to start to shift this relationship with myself to a healthier place that's based on more self-compassion. We talked a little bit last time about the David Goggins, like kind of shaming yourself into performance. And, I'm definitely not a believer in that. Might get you going, but that's very costly from an energy perspective. And it's like built on like hating yourself. I can't really champion that because everything we talk about here is being softer and easier with yourself so that we can like naturally move into shifts and changes that are healthier for you rather than just trying to force that stuff. So when I'm forcing it, I'm trying to override my nervous system. I'm trying to override everything I believe and just try and make this change. And I get a lot of pushback and resistance in that process. That's the thing is I'm trying to minimize resistance to change. And the way that I do that is I start small. This is a long-winded answer to your question, but it's like
Totally
by starting small, I'm not getting into overwhelm. I'm like, okay, this is manageable. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but I can handle it. The more I do that, the more my capacity starts to increase. So I go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15, maybe eventually like a half hour. Unless you're really looking to specialize in something, that's usually good enough, right? They say like mastery is
1,000 hours.
okay, if I'm trying to accumulate 1,000 hours, yeah, I probably got to have big chunks of time to make that happen. Otherwise, it's going to take forever. Well, that's fine too if it does, but work at your pace. Given the context of your life. What are some small changes? What are some small shifts that I can start to unwind these old patterns and I can start to align with something new? That takes me questioning myself because I need to rewire my beliefs. My beliefs are what's creating the current result. And I'm like highly motivated to act in that same manner because my nervous system wants the continuity. It wants everything to be the same. because that's what we've learned is safe for us. Then we also build our identity around it. So if I have my identity wrapped up in something, it might feel like death if I like totally shut down that aspect. Like, let's say if I get my worth and value from like people pleasing or sacrificing myself for other people, if I believe that's the only value I have, like it's going to be very difficult for me to let that go. So I need to start to form this healthier relationship with myself. I need to start to zoom out and look at other areas that I feel valuable in. And I need to start to diversify so that I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. Because when we do that, that's that identity piece is like if I don't have that, or if people aren't willing to receive what I have to offer, then that immediately sinks my self-worth. It's about rounding out the edges. It's about seeing these different aspects of yourself in a healthier way. And it's you struggling with something doesn't have to be an identity. Okay. It's just your beliefs that you currently have support that. But we can always shift out of that. We can always start to adopt a mindset that's going to align with a better way of being where it doesn't have to be this rest of your life situation, and then our struggles generally are built around quite a bit of pain. And so the alarm bells go off quite a bit when we're going to address those issues. That's why you have to be patient with yourself. That's why you have to have self-compassion, is because there might be a part of you that's like really locked into trying to protect you from something deeply painful. And we need to approach that in a gentle manner. Otherwise, we get all this resistance and then we basically kind of push the other way. The nervous system's very good at hiding those things from us. And the way we access them is through slowing down and being calm and forming this healthier relationship with ourselves, because that's designed to lower the resistance. So if I'm shaming myself, that's putting me in a greater state of stress, which makes it more difficult to change actually. Okay. So we smooth out the process by actually giving ourselves some grace, by like forgiving things that we've done, by forgiving other people for the things they've done to us. How can I soften and loosen my hold on the pain so that I can feel safer to move forward? This is generally a gradual process. In session work, it's, we're very targeted with it. It's like, hey, this is what's holding you back right now. Let's move through it really quick. Right. But the on your own stuff, it's a bit of it takes that conscious effort. And that's why support's important. And that's why coaching accelerates things, is because it's like we can target things, but you can also do it on your own. It's just going to take a little bit longer because you're going to be learning about yourself throughout that process rather than, okay, this is exactly what's going on here.
If we were to talk about a couple examples of slowing down and shifting through something, I'm trying to think of one. I have like a silly one, but maybe like people can relate to this. So we started a group chat for my birthday. I put a bunch of people on it and no big deal. And then I was like, oh shoot, I need to add a handful of people. I add them, and two people I consider close friends, but I don't see them a lot, immediately left the group chat. You know how like it says that in the little thing?
Mm-hmm.
And like I had all of these like rush of feelings of like, what the actual F? Do they not want to be friends anymore? Does this mean they're not coming? Like all of these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, for me, it was like a slowdown to be, well, wait a second, like it just doesn't make sense, right? But I had immediately, my brain spun up this whole other story. So let's just talk about like these moments where it happens very quickly and you do have to like have the moment to be, wait a second. So then
Mm-hmm.
I like text them on the side and I was like, what happened? And they're like, I have no idea. I didn't ever see the invite to the group chat. So there was some like tech glitch in the matrix. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So jumping to that's that reaction, right? It's like
Yeah.
something happens and then my mind automatically goes to a place, right? And that
Yeah.
happens all day, every day to all of us. That's what wounds do to us, is it's the alarm bell of like, oh, this is personal somehow. And it's telling
Right.
us about what that is. We talked briefly earlier today, like, that's abandonment wounds. It's like, that's one of the more painful things any of us go through. I think we all have some version of that, whether it's not always physical abandonment. A lot of times it's emotional abandonment. It's like when I really needed somebody, or I didn't get the full story and like somebody just disappeared out of my life. We feel abandoned. That's a hot button for just about everybody. Is, well, we all have this desire to be seen, heard, respected, liked, validated, approved of, those types of things. That wound is like, It's super tender and it's easy. And so our mind's automatically going to go to that place. And that's perfect example. It's just, how can I make this not true? How can I, because my mind already went there. But if I keep going with that, I might react, do something stupid, and then I might actually like hurt that relationship. And that's what reactions do, is like, well, I have this fear, I have this wound here, and if I'm acting from the wound, I actually create more of a likelihood that that same wound is going to continue to happen to me. So my behaviors are going to actually create the thing I'm trying to prevent. Okay. That's a good example of why it's important to slow down. Think of like all the misunderstandings that happen, because of, glitches or whatever, the miscommunications. It's our mind, it just wants to fill in the gap. It uses our past to fill in the gap. So if I'm still struggling with an idea, like that could get pretty intense pretty quickly. And I might take actions based on that. That might be detrimental to me. That's a good piece of it. So that's a version of like, many of us are doing that in many different ways throughout the day, where it's like, we don't know why we keep creating the same problem, but it's because we just run with the reaction and we believe it's absolutely true and we don't question it. But if we slow down, regulate our nervous system, ask some deeper questions, and the deeper questions are to guide you to a bigger picture. Because if I've personalized information, so I've generalized this idea that this hurts me, and it's like something personal to me. So that's like all my mind can zone into. And when I start to slow down, breathe through it, and dissipate the emotions, now I start to return my mind back to a broader view, right? So it can see other possibilities rather than just the one thing that hurt me. So that's the important thing, is like we do the slowing down so that we can get to that conscious place of where we're trying to balance our emotions and then approach things from that balanced place. And then we ask it deeper questions, why is this happening? What am I doing to create it? Is there a different way to see this? We're trying to work the puzzle, and the whole time we're trying to zoom out. Okay. Because the zooming out is detaching from the personal pain. And that's where I might see different avenues that might lead to a different result. Is I'm like giving myself the space to sit with something. They always say, like, don't make a decision when you're angry or whatever. There's a lot of wisdom there. It's because if I'm triggered by something, and I'm impulsive about it, I'm going to do something I regret, because like the thing I'm trying to avoid, I'm actually probably making it a worse situation. When we sleep on it, when we take that step back, when I disarm that impulse and I ask myself what would be a better way to go about this, and you took those steps of like, okay, I'll just reach out to them on the side, and I got some clarity. So that's all it is like we build these stories in our mind, and most of the time we don't really question them. We just continue to behave in the similar manner. And then we wonder why the same problems keep happening to us. It's about breaking that chain. And it requires us to get to this more balanced place. We can only, if I'm busy all throughout the day, I'm in the stress response, I'm in fight or flight, where I'm like actively engaged with things. And I'm actually kind of a little bit numb to my feelings, because like I'm just trying to get through the day. So when we have that slowdown, we're actually confronted with the stress of the day. So if I sit with myself, I reflect on the day, now I can like unpack, why did that bother me so much? How could I have done that differently? What did that person really mean when they said this to me? Is it really personal? Because there might be like all these like subtle little things I'm doing to sabotage myself, or actually continue to recreate the pain of the past. That's all we're talking about, is like when I slow down, I learn lessons in terms of like, when I'm less reactive, I'm able to see situations differently, and that gives me that new path forward. That's all we're trying to do with change, is like, I just need to see the situation in a more neutral way, because now I have more freedom to make decisions. Otherwise, I just feel pulled into things. And then once I get pulled into it, now I'm feeling all those emotions, and then all my decisions are also coming from this kind of hindered place already. Good results don't happen that way. It happens when we take the step back, clear our head, try to see different options, and then choose the best one from that centered place. We continually redirect our path in the direction of what we're trying to accomplish. So the goal of that situation is, I want people at my birthday party, and yeah, I think we're good friends, but it feels like we're not right now. But
Right.
I would really just like them to come. That's kind of the bigger vision of, well, how do I line the pieces to make that happen? But if I take things personally, I might make it so they don't want to come.
It
Yeah.
could like in a quick reaction place, it could have been very easy to be like, well, you know, screw them. I guess I just won't share any other information, right?
And
Yeah.
just think of how many relationships get ruined that way. Taking something
So many.
personal that, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and that's say if somebody doesn't respond to us right away, like our minds automatically, oh, like it's building all these stories. It's just kind of, it's backing off the ledge. And we're only on the ledge because we've been hurt by things in our past. When we go into that stuff and heal it, now I don't have that knee jerk reaction. I mean, I'm able to be more calm and centered given any circumstance because I'm not trying to protect myself from some deep pain. If there's nothing to protect anymore, I can surrender and then I can just be in that kind of calm centered manner. That's where everything actually, well, that's where the magic happens. Just think of the people we don't like to be around. It's people with volatile emotions and, they're judgmental and like all that stuff. How can I embody things that start to create better results for me? It is going to be more of that calm centered approach because that's like this, people like being around relaxed energy because they feel safe.
Let's imagine something I mean, obviously people love to talk about the relationship side of things. That's very clear to me. But let's talk about it from like a business side as an example or a creating something side, how you might use slowdown to as a benefit.
I mean, we could get like too attached to a plan or of a course of action where I'm like, well, and they always say like in the marketing world, like the A/B split testing and like all that. So that's like giving yourself that space to like zoom out, right? So I'm not too attached to one thing, right? Because that one thing that I really like might not work. I might be in my own way there. That's where data and things like that can help. Where it's like, well, I might be attached to something. I might think it needs to work, and if I'm emotionally connected to it, like I'm obviously going to keep trying to head in that direction. But in business, like the market decides. It matters less and less like what I want. It's more about what the people want. Those are kind of instances where I need to start to depersonalize. I need to be like, well, yeah, like I think I'm excited about this, and this might be like something I want to do. So I put it out there, but if it's like not working, then I need to make adjustments. I can't keep just trying to force something. So that takes that taking steps back, making shifts and adjustments, and everything starts to become like a fine tuning process of, you work with like wording and an offer and like how you're presenting different information and design and like you're just trying to find the right recipe. And that's like everything in life. It's just, if I'm too attached to one way of being because I think that's the way it should be, that stubbornness is what holds us back. It's finding this like, well, I only know what I know. And maybe I don't really know what I'm doing here. It's that ability to try things and learn from every step. So even if you go to make a change, like in the new year, like with a workout plan and diet and all that stuff, you might think it's going to be the perfect diet, right? And then you're doing it and it doesn't agree with your body, or you feel sick all the time, or whatever it is. And it's just like, well, like, are there some good pieces there? Do I need to throw the whole thing away, or does it just need some adjustments? So everything's just like tinkering. And so it's slowing down the process rather than continuing to push it forward. We have the impulses, but then we also have our emotional attachments to things where if we think it's going to be kind of the perfect solution, I might be blinding myself to, well, it might be a good solution, but it could be better if I continually adjust it. As I put something forward or try something out, I'm zooming out and being like, okay, is this working? Does it need more time to try and work? Like you start looking at the different variables and start to adjust it to try and bring it into alignment. But everything kind of needs that constant attention. But if I'm just in that place of forcing, just in the place of reacting, I'm not open to change, right? So I just keep trying to do the same thing over and over again. I might have some insecurities. I might have some things that don't allow me to see that I'm in my own way. And so that's kind of, we're always our own problem every time. We talk about that all the time with relationship. That's actually just a mirror for things going on inside you. We make the shifts and changes there. I try to like, if I'm acting from a wound or an insecurity, like that's probably not going to create the best result. It's more about me finding peace with myself continually and then showing up with that new set of eyes on whatever I'm trying to accomplish. So yeah, like I tried something, I feel like I failed. So now I'm in the shame spiral. It doesn't feel very good. But what if I don't go there every time? What if I'm just like, well, yeah, like I'm being creative. I'm trying new things. I'm working the puzzle. I don't have to get bent out of shape about every little thing that happens. It's this ability to stick with things consistently. And that's what we're talking about with practice. I need that space to reorganize my mind. I need that space to question myself, because if we're just doing what we've always done, there's not many shifts and changes happening there, but we're not aware of like how our role in the equation. And so we're just taking that time to spend with ourselves to see like, how am I creating these results? Why am I blocking myself? If I'm blocking myself, it's because I'm trying to prevent some sort of pain because of some wound in my past. That's generally what the work is like any adjustment I make, I'm like faced with my doubts. I'm faced with my beliefs. I'm faced with my wounds. It's this internal like self-discovery process. That's why we need to get uncomfortable, because in the uncomfortableness of things, that's where all that information gets revealed to us. But if I just leave it on the sidelines and I don't touch it, I'm not getting any flow going. I'm not getting any new information coming in. I'm just doing the same things I always do. And that might be good for some stuff, but other things, it might be in direct opposition to your desires and what you really want. It might make you feel real powerless about like what you're trying to accomplish, but it is a humility. It's like, it's not really like, these things don't have to be like personal, like slights. It could just be, yeah, I'm doing the best I can with what I know right now, but I'm like open to learning, right? Like I understand that I don't know everything. And I can explore that when I slow down and take some space, take a deeper look. And then I put myself in check, being, well, yeah, am I the problem here? Why am I blocking this? Why am I preventing this? And you just start to soften that so that you can get some more forward movement, right? Because our nervous system doesn't allow us to go where we don't feel safe to. I'm just trying to create safety in my body every step of the way. That means we're trying to minimize those big, intense personal feelings, because that's generally being brought into situations. It's not what the situation actually is. Generally, the situation is pretty neutral. It's just what we're projecting onto it, what creates all the pain for us. And that once we're in that pain, now I'm trying to move around it. And that's where we have all these avoidance patterns.
When we're taking the moment to pause in the different situations, we're not pushing through, we're willing to experiment. And I personally love the experiment side of things, and that kind of idea around slowing down to experiment. So we're doing all of these things. Do you have any tactical practices that people could use? So meditation, obviously, journaling, obviously, but let's talk a little bit about some tangible things that people can do when they need to consciously take the moment to slow down, when it's not happening in those little moments.
It's just always like finding, okay, so if I'm engaged with something and it's very stressful to me and everything just feels like a struggle or a problem, the big thing is we need a reset. Okay. I need to understand that me stepping away is actually going to accelerate what I'm trying to do. The reset it's changing your state. If we want to, it's the Tony Robbins and all that. It's just kind of, but there's a lot to that, right? I'm looking at this problem in a way that doesn't feel good to me. And so I'm wrapped up in all these negative emotions. And so I get tunnel vision and I can't see any other way. So the stepping away is like, I need to just do something that feels good to me, right? It might be go for a walk. It might be listen to music. It might be watch something. I just need to get my mind off that fixation so that I can, once I'm in this neutral place or feeling good about something, once I turn my attention back to it, I'm going to be seeing it differently. Okay. So I'm going to be able, because my nervous system's relaxed and I'm my mind's open too. That's the important, once we're in the stress response, we're just pulling from our past, like our mind's shut down. It's just doing what we know. But once I feel better about something and I go approach it, a lot of that resistance is gone. So I'm no longer fighting myself. When I go to approach it now, I'm seeing it through the different lens and it gets easier. And I'm seeing different avenues because my mind's expanded. It's not contracted. That's literally, I think it's good for everybody to have like kind of a hit list of like things that they know, like rebalance them out when they're under stress. So yeah, that could be journaling, it could be meditation. For me, a big one is like I take a shower. It always just like clears my head. I don't know. I'm too much in my head. I just need to, that's what like a lot, I get all my insights before the podcast. I'm just like, oh, what do I want to talk about today? Like while I'm taking a shower, right? So
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
yeah. What are the things that make you feel better? What are the things that make you feel that make you chill out? What are some ideas you can focus on that make it not such a big deal? Because maybe I'm adding too much pressure to it. Maybe I'm attaching my value to it, and so it feels like life or death, right? And so how it's the softening is how can I divert my attention in a way that feels more relaxed, at ease. Many people use working out to do that, but it could be drawing, it could be reading a book. It doesn't really matter. It's like whatever works for you. What That's that slowing down thing of like I need to disengage with the thing that's stressful and I need to find a better outlook on it. And the way that I do that is I relax my nervous system. And so there's a million different strategies for that. But yeah, it could just be like telling yourself some calming thoughts or phrases and breathing into them. It could be if you have an animal, if you're around a dog, it usually makes you feel happy, right? So it's like that type of stuff. It's like an emotional reset, and it allows our nervous system to relax so that we can approach it through a different lens. And that's really what matters. Is if something's a big struggle for me, I need if I just keep heading down that road, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder. And that's that forcing piece. But if I slow down, recenter, go back to it, I'm actually going to accelerate the result. It's going to go faster because I'm approaching it in that better way. That's my system's open to changes when I'm at peace, when I'm relaxed. It's not on guard. But if it's on guard, I'm fighting myself every step of the way.
If we're going to recap on this idea of slowing down, what are your key few takeaways for people as they think about this? I mean, especially as we're headed into this holiday season where the inclination is going to be busy all the time.
I think an important idea here is many of us use busyness as this badge of honor. That's how we get our worth is like, we don't want to be called lazy or anything like that. But in the slowing down, there's so many gifts. The busyness just means I'm jumping from one thing to the next. I'm not fully present. Everything I'm doing is very practice and routine. Once again, I'm disconnected from myself in that place where I'm not in tune with the opportunities for these micro adjustments that we're talking about. So when I slow down and question things, I'm creating the space for growth and learning and adjustments that might make me feel a lot more confident in what I'm doing. That might connect me back to my self-worth. Because a lot of times I'm just running from that stuff. If I'm busy all the time, a lot of that's by design. It's because like I don't want to sit still. I don't want to have those feelings come up. I don't want to take a look at my past. But do we want to spend like our whole life running from our past, or do we want to heal our past and just surrender it, and then we're actually present to the moment, and that way we have a lot more choices, because we don't have a lot of choice when I'm just running patterns. Whatever I'm pushed to do, I just do out of habit. And so that can be a mixed bag. If we have like some healthy beliefs and a healthy mindset around something, I can probably create some good results from that place. If I'm confident in something, that means I built up this positive mindset around this specific area. I don't need to be like questioning that a lot, right? Because that's an area where I just do what I do. But then the stuff that I really struggle with, those are our opportunities. It's like, yeah, I wish this was better. I wish this was different. I'm tired of feeling this way. The only way we get there is when I engage with it, it's me stepping back and taking a look at it again and being like, well, like, why does this keep happening? What can I do differently? How can I bring it back into myself where I can make some shifts and adjustments where I start to feel empowered rather than powerless? And so the slowing down is it's how we learn. If you're not good at something, you want to take your time to understand it better so that you can find a better path forward with it. It's the same as like growing up in school. If you're struggling with the subject, you get like extra help, or you spend more time trying to learn it. The same rules apply, but we only build confidence by shedding the low self-worth, the I'm just going to try and work around these things. It's by like going into things and deepening our understanding of them. That's how we gain that true confidence. And so, confidence is an ease. It's like I believe in what I'm doing and I'm fully on board with it. I'm not fighting myself anymore. I came to peace with it, and so I'm out of my head. I'm just in my heart. Where do we have some opportunities for that? That's always going to be what do I struggle with? What are the challenges I'm facing? What are the things that make me feel the worst? And that's why we always talk about the feeling sensation, because there's so much information there that gives us a lot to work with, because it's like they're just imprints, it's programming of things that you believe about yourself that make that hard. So if we're going to try and clear resistance and make things easier, it's about aligning with this better version, but then it's also shedding the stuff that keeps you bound to your past. If it's something's in a wound, there's gifts there too. If I can let go of that and if I can forgive that, my body automatically feels way lighter. My mind's much more at ease. I'm less reactive. And so that makes me more available to the people around me. That makes me more engaged with what I'm doing. That increases my performance, because like I'm not trying to protect myself from whatever I'm engaged with. We only get that access when we pay attention to how we feel and we slow down and try to rework that puzzle into something that's healthier, which just means we're just trying to take it from a negative emotion and we're trying to neutralize it. So, and we do that one step at a time. It's a gradual climbing to the neutral outlook, or slightly positive is a bonus. But, at least if I'm neutral, I'm not trying to protect myself anymore and I can just let go. That's the main ideas here, is like, I'm trying to clear the resistance so that I can just naturally do things that are best for me, that are in accordance with what I want, that doesn't cause me to do hurtful things to other people, like all that stuff, right? And so it's about just paying attention to what you feel inside and trying to adjust it into a better version, which just means like, how can I see this situation in a way that's less painful? How can I see it in a way that gives me a path forward? If I've been stewing over something my entire life, well, like, how's that working out for you? We probably need to find ways to move through that and let that go, because the only person that's being held back is you by that. And, that bitterness and resentment, once again, like the accumulation of chronic stress is what leads to disease ultimately. So it's just like, where in my life am I like holding on to all this heaviness? It really serves us on so many levels to take a different look at that and try and soften it. Our mind opens, our body opens, we feel more relaxed and at ease, and we're able to connect better with everything around us. And so that just, it literally benefits everything. And so it's always a worthwhile journey.
Yes, it's always a worthwhile journey, especially when you're on the other side. So let's talk a little bit about where people can find you if they're interested in working with you, anything like that, any plans you want to hint at as we're headed into the new year, stuff like that.
Yeah, so if you're curious about this work, you can reach out at brandonthielk.com and schedule a free 30-minute strategy session. So I just get to know you a little bit better and see how I can help you, and share a little bit more about this philosophy and how we would apply it. Um, and also on my website, you can register for my newsletter. That's just at the bottom of the title page there. And so each week I send out updates on the business and any special offers that I'm currently running, things like that. If you want to follow along on Instagram and YouTube at Brandon Thielk, or TikTok at bthielk. And, looking forward to the new year. We're going to be talking about doing some in-person work, maybe end of Q1, I'm assuming. I think we talked about that. Maybe a destination. So yeah, just be on the lookout for upcoming information on the business and what I'm up to. Also, rates are going to be increasing next year. So if you're interested in this work, it'd be a good time to step up and have a conversation and see how I can help you if you're really curious.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time.
All right. Talk to you later, Brandon.
All right. Bye.